Okay, so we are now live. I get to be, as always, I am Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that.
So we are now.
There we go. And I am joined by one of my closest friends, anti-fembot, Elizabeth Hobson. How are you doing?
I'm doing all the better for talking to you, darling.
And you know what? I am celebrating today because I have a special announcement. Like, the biggest thing in my life has happened today. Ching! I am going to be a speaker at ICMI.
Yay! And it's going to be one of the finest speeches of the entire event.
Yes. And you can go onto ICMI's website right now and check it out. But I'll tell you what my speech is going to be about. I want to have a call to action and let everyone know that everyone can do something in this movement. That if you have a skill, if you have a desire, go out and do something more for the movement. I mean, these videos are great and we should keep doing them. Going to protests are wonderful. We need to still do those, but we need to take the movement to a new level. Like me doing the calendars, the quick reference guide, all the books I've written, those were wonderful. But, you know, if we're really going to make a big impact in this world, we got to go higher, bigger, better. What are your thoughts on that, Elizabeth?
My thoughts are, something just came to mind, right? And what came to mind was, you know, feminists and how they go after like glamour models and you know, all these different kinds of women that they think don't make the right choices, and they don't want to see them on the screen. They don't want to see women shaking their booty on the screen. They don't want to see women wearing less than the men around them. You know, all these kind of things. And I always think, you know, how can better representation mean less women? And so I would like to say to the men's human rights movement that better representation cannot mean less men. And so if you're a man, and even if you think you don't have the skills and you don't have the talents of the other men that you see in the men's human rights movement, your voice might just reach one other person, and that is really important. You know, you're because we all have different personalities and we're all reached by different people. You know, I mean, Paul Elam is a persona and a voice and a man who really reaches me in the depths of my soul. And there are other people in the men's human rights movement who go, Paul Elam's a bit acerbic, like, you know, he's not useful. But he reached me, and I've gone on and done other things. And so even if you feel like your personality isn't a magnetic personality that's going to touch me, no, you never can tell. So please raise your voice. And, you know, whether it's in small ways, at work, at the bus stop, in the playground, you know, just a word in someone's ear, or making videos, or applying to be on ICMI and get a bigger platform, you know, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Let's make our ideas more, no, let's crack open the Overton window and make these ideas more widely accepted in the public sphere.
I think that is really what my speech is going to be about. I mean, it's funny that I do all of these amazing things, and Elizabeth describes it better than I can. And she talks about how Paul reached her, and she reached me. Now, by the time she reached me, I'd already done some things in the movement. I did the red pill screening, I did the calendars, but she helped me in the most profound way because I'm a writer. That is my number one passion. But for the longest time, I did not want my writing to be in the men's movement because I want to be taken serious as a writer. I want one day someone to stop me in the middle of the street. It's like, hey, did you write this book? I'm like, yeah, that's me. I want to be like an Asimov or a Stephen King, But Elizabeth came to me one day and she's like, hey, have you seen this book, which was How to Destroy a Man Now? I'm like, holy God, that is, how is that even on Amazon? And it was her idea, 100% credit. So blame her. She said, what you should do, Mad Cat, is you should write a book in protest. And her just saying that got the wheels turning. And that's when I decided to make How to Destroy a Woman Now, which is a satire book. Please do not take it seriously. But I like to think that my book helped take down the other one. Maybe not the main cause, but it did help. And I'm very proud of it. And that is my most number one selling book, a book that I didn't even really want on the market in the first place. I hoped that it got taken down, but it was like, after I did that, I decided to do Boys and Men's Issues Handbook. And I actually had this idea when I first came into the movement 7 years ago. I'm like, oh, this would be a great book for the movement. I shouldn't write it. I'm not Paul Elam. I'm not Warren Farrell. I'm not Karen Strawn. They should write it. I'm a nobody. And then Elizabeth told me to write that book, and it was a success. And it led me to writing this book now. And, she reached me. She convinced me to use my skills to make a difference in this movement. And that's what I want to address to everyone at ICMI. Whatever skills you have or whatever you have a desire to learn, use that for the men's movement.
Yeah. And, I suppose the other message in that story is to reach out to people in the men's movement, because I know what surprised me most of all when I was welcomed into the men's movement was the fact that you can email the high profile figures in the men's movement and they'll fucking respond. You can email Philip Davies and he is the one politician, and I can confirm he's the one politician in the UK because I have emailed all of them regarding changing the name of the Women and Equalities Committee to just the Equalities Committee. And all of them emailed back and said, are you a constituent? And I'm like, no, but you're on the Women Equalities Committee, or, you are a feminist, or you do whatever, you should have some thing to say about this. So we're all really nice. Email me. I might take a while. I do take a while, don't I? You can confirm that, Mad Cat.
She's worth the wait. Let me just say, she's worth the wait.
I will respond.
And, that's a very good point that you make about that, because Paul Elam, when he released his book, Men, Women, Relationships, the ebook, when it came out, because I do my own ebooks, like I hand code them with HTML and XML. So that way I can control the final product. And no offense to whoever did this, but it was done poorly. And I emailed Paul and I said, I really like what you've done, but I want to help you out. I want to reformat your ebook so it has a better presentation, because you know what? People are petty and they'll be like, oh, this ebook is formatted properly, 1 star. I wanted to take away that ammunition for anyone who wants to hate Paul. And so I said, I will do it for free. And he got back to me and was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, who would pass up something for free, right? I mean, I normally charge $50 for that service, but, you know. And it started my working relationship with Paul. And now he's like one of my biggest supporters. And it's like when I announced that I was doing ICMI, he's like, I want to get the exact thing he said, because it humbles me that he said this. Let me just load up my profile. That'll be faster.
I mean, there's another message in there on the slide, which is do things for free.
An excellent choice for ICMI. That is what Paul said about me. That's humbling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Paul is godlike. I absolutely adore the very ground that man walks on.
I want to smoke a cigar with him. That is one of my life's goals, is to just like sit in his backyard and just smoke a cigar.
I'll be there too, in my dreams. Maybe it'll happen. When we start pulling in the kind of money feminists we'll be round each other's backyards all the time.
So would this be a 3-way or an orgy?
Cameron would be there.
But
my newest crush, Greta Aurora.
Hell, the way you've talked about Aurora, she's my new crush.
I know. Have I not even sent you pictures?
No, you haven't sent me a picture of her.
She's like me, but a 10.
Okay, so she's a 20 then?
She's a what?
She's a 20? Because she's like you plus a 10, so she's a 20?
You're too kind.
I'm a sweet talker. What can I say? By the way, anyone like my new glasses I got?
Very nice, actually. I had some like that, and they were my favorites, but then I got more blind and I had some more.
I'm talking about this.
Oh my God, your new glasses. Sorry, we've been through this though. You know I love your glasses.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm not talking with everyone else. Actually, yeah, I am getting new specs.
But when you say glasses, it does sound like glasses.
It does. It does. No, I am getting new ones. I'm not able to see at night driving Lyft with these. I can see, but just not as well as I'd like to. So I'm getting some new driving glasses. So should be here next week.
You're going to get some new driving gloves as well, so you can write professional.
Well, I'll either be a professional driver or a professional hitman. They both wear gloves in the car.
Do. And both are good, solid professions.
Yeah, there's always oh God, I can't think.
Why not both?
Well, because I don't own a gun yet.
Funny enough, I just framed a picture actually. Let me see if you recognize this. It's up in my kitchen, but I'm going to go and get it for you.
Okay, well, you kind of froze on us, so hopefully it catches. There we go.
Recognize this? Where am I going that way?
It looks familiar, but I don't know.
It's Jodie Foster from Taxi Driver.
Ah, okay.
12-year-old prostitute who, you know, the taxi driver goes and shoots up all of her pimps and pushers.
And why do you have a framed picture of a 12-year-old prostitute?
Because it's one of the finest films in the world. I've also got a poster from Apocalypse Now, one from The Wicker Man, the original Robin Hardy 1973, I think it is, version. Um, Still from Jason and the Argonauts by Harryhausen, and there's one more. Oh, a Full Metal Jacket. They're my favorites.
Yeah, there's a lot of older movies that I really love, such as 10 Angry Men and Psycho.
Oh, Hitchcock is
Or
a
12
god.
Angry. What?
What?
Well, why are
What?
you looking at me like that? What's
No, I
wrong
said
with?
I said Hitchcock is a god, and it was like
Oh,
the oh my god, what a fucking god! He's just so awesome, kind of like
he
I
was
just
before his
can't
time,
believe how
but
great he is. He was,
Psycho was a
yes.
genius movie because, I mean, for those who don't know, back in the time of Hitchcock, people didn't go see movies for the storyline. They saw movies for the actors and actresses. And when Psycho was advertised, they like really said, "Oh, this woman's going to be in it and it's a scary movie." But it's like when you have a main actress in a movie, you don't kill her. That just no. And I wish I was alive opening day for this movie because when Norman Bates kills her, spoilers, the entire movie theater was silent. They could not believe that she was dead. A lot of people are like, no, 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 she has to still be alive. She has to still be alive. It's like they couldn't believe that they killed the main actress, the reason they came to see the movie. But then something surprising happened in the next scene when he puts her into the car and tries to sink down, and then it stops. And then, like, people are like, no, no, keep going down, keep going down. They were rooting for the bad guy who just killed the actress they went there to see. And it's like only Alfred Hitchcock could do that. I mean, nowadays, it's almost par for the course, but Alfred Hitchcock was the first to really do it.
His the way he directed the framing of shots is just so beautiful. Oh, I'm echoing. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, I like Rear Window and the Birds. It's like every single shot is a work of art. You could take any still from those films and frame it on the wall, and it would look like you're the classiest fucker on the block. Can we swear on your show?
What's up?
Can we swear on your show?
Sure, why not?
Thank goodness.
I'm not getting monetized. I've never made any money on this fucking cunt.
Me cunting neither. And this is what we're talking about. Don't expect to make any money from men's human rights activism.
Yeah, we
But,
were talking about that earlier.
you can certainly hope to change the world as we do.
Yeah, we were talking about, maybe, just maybe, all of our actions are for nothing. That we're not going to change the world, that we're not going to make a difference in the world. Now, we do feel like we are. We do feel like we are, but say that we don't. Is it better for us to have wasted our time trying to do something we believe in than to just not do it? And we're both in agreement that this is who we are. This is what we're passionate about. We cannot go to sleep at night unless we were our true selves that day doing something for men.
And I think it's anyone who's been following developments for the last, say, 5 years, I think will have seen a development in the public discourse, which is positive. I mean, in the UK, we talk about male suicide victims and we talk about male victims of domestic violence so much more than 5 years ago. 5 years ago, those topics were barely touched on in the mainstream media and school playground where I frequent. But feminism has infiltrated all of the establishments to such a degree that we might well be completely fucked. And, our civilization might die and it might have all been for nothing. But one aspect is indeed, when I go to bed at night, I have to brush my teeth and look myself in the eye in the mirror and go, what the fuck have you done today? But the other aspect is that I've met so many wonderful people who've got my back and are genuinely good, noble, compassionate people who enrich my life, such as yourself, Paul, Peter, and Mike Buchanan, and Anthony J. Cornish III, and all my birds. And I wouldn't give any of you up for all of the feminist riches in the world.
I feel the same way that, I was quoting to Elizabeth a song she's never heard, and I'm going to have to show it to her one of these days, and it's Garth Brooks' The Dance. And the lyrics basically go that I could have missed the pain, but then I would have to miss the dance. And, men's rights, in the grand scheme of things, like, and forgive me for saying this, but I'm an idiot for having done this. It hasn't gotten me out of my financial situation. It hasn't really helped me with my disability. And I could have instead put more focus on things that might have better helped me. And I didn't. I still am doing this. And, I did get help from the community. I mean, I've done a number of GoFundMes and Indiegogo. I had someone house me when my mother first wanted to kick me out of the home. And yeah, I was homeless for a time, but there have been so many great things that have happened to me in the last 7 years that I don't think I would have had I not been a part of this movement. And that's the dance. And I wouldn't give that up for anything. It hasn't all been, candy corn and unicorns. I don't know what the saying is, but, it hasn't all been fantastic. But there's been some wonderful moments. Like, one of the moments I remember is when I first met Elizabeth. I wanted to do kind of a radio show for a book called The Feminist. And she got to be the evil mayor. And I'm like, well, you're perfect because you got a British accent. And that's where our friendship developed. And I was just like so happy that she wanted to continue talking to me after that. Not that I was a bad guy or anything, but it was just like, here's this amazing person. And she, she's just, sorry, I'm going to tear up. Don't look at me.
Oh, no, don't you tear up. I'll tear up.
Oh, well, if that's the case, I want you to tear up. I like when girls cry. But, it's maybe there was something else I could have done to help me, but I'm glad I'm doing this. And I am so ecstatic that I get to be on ICMI. I thought, I guess I just didn't know what it took to get on ICMI, because I always thought you had to get invited, and no one ever invited me. I'm like, oh, you bunch of cunts. What, do you not recognize the work that I've done? But I guess you have to volunteer to be on it, which makes more sense. Who knows? Maybe I could have been on last year, but I didn't know that, But it's like, even though I asked and they said yes, it's still such a great privilege. And I like to think it's the work I've done and the people I've met and the time I've put in.
Well, as a member of the organising committee, I can confirm that we do not accept all of the submissions, as much as we'd like to, because they're all excellent. There are a lot of submissions, and we only pick the best and most appropriate, and the ones that we think are going to really engage audiences and further the cause.
You're making me blush. Stop it. I don't blush. You're making me humble. I like being egotistical. Wow. You've made my day even better. Again, don't look at me.
Shall I style it out and talk about I've got something to talk about.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
Yes, I've been seeing your posts on Facebook as well as some other people.
I haven't posted. I'm not on Facebook and Twitter at the moment, but other friends might have posted. I did fix the title for her. And my ambition is to walk up and go, oh my God, Laura, will you sign my book? And then, she'll sign it and close it and go, you fucking what? Oh, where am I? But I'm in it.
You know what we should do is get a group photo of everyone holding a book that looks exactly like that. It says feminism on the bottom. Just take a picture and post it on social media.
I know, but I mean, because I ummed and ahed. I was like, I want to read this book. I really badly want to read this book, but I don't want to give Laura any money, not even a penny. And then Brian Blindspot was like, J4MB's in it a lot. And I was like, I can't, and I bought it.
You know what? I bought How to Destroy a Man Now. Like, if I was going to write a satire book of it, I broke down and bought it.
Of course, you can't not read it, can you?
I didn't want to give that person any money. We still don't know if it was a guy but I didn't want to. So I know how you feel about not wanting to give money, but
I mean, many of these books are feminist tomes, but I generally buy them in hand. So I'm like, well, at least it's going to shop feminist who's like, this book's fucking weird. I don't want this in my house.
Well, I also bought this book, which I had reservations about it because I hear it's a decent book.
I haven't read it.
But it's Christina Hoff Sommers.
Yeah.
And after the crap she said about MRAs and Paul Elam.
Erin Pitsey too, she's bitched about.
And it's like, on one hand,
I've got it.
For my research, I need to read it. But on the other hand, it's like, I really didn't want to give Christina Hoff Sommers money.
Do you remember a few years ago when she was cool? She actually lost her husband, and I put in like a tenner for flowers for her. Milo Yiannopoulos was fundraising. But
no, I didn't know about that. I mean, that's sad.
It's a difficult one. Christina has her uses. You know, it's really useful for an anti-feminist or an MRA to be able to say, look, here's a feminist who agrees with what I'm saying. But on the other hand, I mean, you know, with her, I do think she has her gynocentric tendencies, and I do, you know, I mean, there was a recent podcast she did on Femsplainers with her girlfriend or whatever, and you know, they kind of mocked Erin Hitsey and were like, yeah, now she's an MRA, and well, that's going a bit too far and all this. And you know, it was irritating, let's say. But she's a gateway drug. She's a gateway drug, and in that way, she's useful because, you know, she will talk about how rape culture is just a ridiculous idea if you're talking about the Western world for college educated women and stuff like that. And that is an important message. And the fact that it's delivered by a feminist lends it legitimacy and authority that it doesn't have when it's, you know, espoused by the likes of Mad Cat or anti-feminist, unfortunately. So I think it's worth reading her books, and I wouldn't resent giving her money, to be honest. I wouldn't resent giving her money. I resent giving Laura Bates money because she's an absolute neurotic, bigoted cow, and also it's really poorly researched. Really poorly. No one else would get away with it. It's only feminists. Feminists don't get fact checked at all. I don't know what it is. It's like every other book that is non-fiction goes through the system, gets fact checked, but feminist books just like swerve that stage. It's bizarre.
And that's one of the main drivers for me for the Boys and Men's Issues handbook, and especially the fact book, is I don't want to present one fact that I cannot verify. I mean, I have a folder on YouTube with over 600 folders, 6,000 links across the internet. That's going to be in these first 4 books. Well, probably not all of them, but most of them will be. And, you know, it's the feminists, they all say the same thing. It's like, well, show me proof of what you have. You know, oh, I don't believe that. Where did you see that? It's like we don't always have the information in front of us. Though it's funny that when we say the same to them, it's like, well, I can't do research for you. You have to go look it up.
Yeah.
I want to give you
Google it. Yeah.
ammunition that if you give a quote and a feminist says, oh, I don't believe you, where's your reference for that? You can pull it right up. You'll have a book, not just the handbook, which will be a great read, but a fact book that's just the facts at your fingertips. And you can flip it open and take a look and get the exact information you need and say, hey, go to this website right here. This will give you what you need. Oh, that's not good enough for you? Take a look at this one. Take a look at this one. Oh, this one's from Harvard. Yeah, I do actually have a link.
And will it have lovely pictures in?
We'll see about pictures. Probably the ebook will have pictures, not the physical book.
Ah. What about the cover? Can I be on the cover? Let me be on the cover.
Oh, that would be wonderful. But no, I'm keeping it simple. Have you seen the mock design I've done for the cover?
I believe so, but do you want to get it up on screen now so everybody can?
Yes. Let me just load that up.
Is that the one I've just bought?
What do you mean?
Well, I've just bought 3 copies of. Was it the
no.
handbook or was it the fact book?
These are quick reference guides from the lovely
Quick
ladies.
reference guides, right?
These right here.
Ah, they're your. Yes. No, of course I know the cover. I do. What a pretty girl. She looks really intelligent and ethical.
I didn't notice. I was trying to look up her dress. Okay. So that is what the cover is going to look like.
Beautiful. Very
Although
classy.
I have to thank Mike Buchanan because he pointed out a grammar. Well, is it grammar or spelling? I guess Well, I'll just say it. Boys is wrong. Because
Oh,
the way this is written, this indicates a single boys issue.
yes.
I have to put the apostrophe on the other side of the S to indicate that it's all boys. So there's an artist who's working on the larger version for me that I will be using when I put it on Kindle and Smashwords.
Mm-hmm.
But they designed this cover for me, which is wonderful. Because one complaint people told me is like the maroon color doesn't work. I'm like, oh, okay. I have a maroon. I used the maroon color. And a lot of people didn't really like that. So I decided to go with, I told the artist, do what you think is best. And they chose this blue color. I'm like, actually, that's perfect. That's wonderful. That's exactly what it should be. So, I mean, it's about boys. It should be blue, right?
Yeah.
I'm just, this is such a great day for me. All I had to do was ask. It was waiting for me, in all honesty. And, you know, sometimes it's
always worth an ask. It's actually my motto.
Well, it is always worth an ask, but it's like, it was waiting for me. It was just waiting for me to ask. And I don't know. I mean, I sort of knew about it and I sort of didn't. And I just saw a post about it from Robert Brockaway. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? Let's do it. Like, what can I talk about? And I'm like, I have no clue what to talk about. But finally I came up with something and I emailed him and he likes it. So
we all do. It's going to be excellent. Chink.
It's just, but, you know, I want to talk about something else that's been a great help to me very recently. And that is regarding men. Paul Elam, I guess he's been doing this for a while, but he was doing this on Patreon where people who, you know, donate a little bit of money could be a part of kind of a therapy session. Although he says it's not like therapy. This actually works.
I can affirm that. Yeah.
But many times a week, if you go to the Regarding Men website, you sign up. It's not too expensive, but if you do have a little bit of trouble, just talk to them. But again, it's not too expensive, and you can get in on basically a men's only group. There's one female there, and that's Janice Fiamingo. But she's cool. I got to talk to Janice Fiamingo, and she's actually excited by my book. Like, she's like, there was the video where she was at a conference, and there are some lesbians who stood up and got all angry with her. And she said to me, it's like, I wish I had your book so I could have pulled up that quote real quick and give it to them to shut them up. She didn't say the shut up part, but I kind of felt like that's what she was saying. saying, but
Yeah, Janice wouldn't say that. She's so graceful. She's an utter. I mean, I think she's just a goddess like proportions. She's beautiful and she's graceful and she's always calm and collected. She actually, on the sly claims she gets nervous, but I never would have detected that from her, would you? She always seems fucking cool to me.
yeah, but I get to talk to Janice. I get to talk to Paul. Like doing Regarding Men was the first time me and Paul have ever had a voice conversation. We've done emails. True fact, last year I discovered I was diabetic. And it explained like all of the weight loss I suddenly had. And Paul came to me and he's like, don't worry about this. I went through the same thing you're doing, and he kind of coached me through it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I did a book for him, but he gave me a lot of support there that I was going to get through this. I mean, I wasn't too worried, but having that little extra boost, and that's just who Paul is. And it's like, you come on here, you get to talk to Paul, you get to talk to Tom Golden, you get to talk to Janice, and there are many other people in this, just regular Joes who all have issues who want to talk about it, and we can be there for each other. And if you're not a part of this group and you just need someone to talk to about your issues and not be judged, you need to go to Regarding Men. And it has been such a big boost to me to just have people to talk to about all the things going on. I mean, not even Elizabeth is allowed there.
No, I'm not. Although, I might elbow my way into like a session or two, like a special with everyone forewarned that I'll be there because I'm nice.
You could always pretend to be a man.
I like tits and beer. Am I fooling anyone?
No, because Elizabeth likes tits and beer, so.
True.
This also just getting to talk to you. I mean, you are like the leader of a political party, and it's just like, I remember back when you were just, I mean, you were always kind of big in the movement, but it was just like, you're kind of on my level when I first met you, and now you're like this politician, I guess. I don't know if that's an apt description of you, but it's just like,
well, it's a technical description, surely. Yeah.
But that is like so amazing that you're doing that. And like, what is that like?
Oh God, it's so incredibly humbling and bizarre. But that's the kind of title is as nothing to the personal relationships that I've built up with people. It's having the trust and the confidence of major figureheads in the men's human rights movement and their support, like you say, having the support of Paul, which I have also, is I'm so grateful, ridiculously grateful, and I feel like the men's human rights movement, I can't believe any other community has each other's back and is so warm and welcoming and supportive as this movement and full of such compassionate, noble people. And I have been around. I've been an environmentalist, and I've been a pacifist, and I've been like a radical left winger, and I've been a feminist, and then I grew up and found myself a men's rights activist, and these people are the best people, and that's the most important thing. You know, do the men's rights activism because it's right, and do the men's rights activism because we might just make the world a better place, but do it for yourself, because honestly, we're just the best people to rub shoulders with. My
I'll give
experience.
you the example of why this movement is so great. So, as you know, I'm an indie writer. I don't go through a traditional publishing house. And I'm getting a little flack of that. Like, people don't think that I'm a real writer because I haven't been traditionally published. But I have traditional writers telling me, don't go the traditional route, just go the indie route. But because of my disability, I'm not working a regular 9-to-5 job. And I'm like, well, I need to do something that I can earn money for myself. And so I decided to make a big push in releasing a book series, which you can now get online. It's called The Dagar Legacy. I've only made 2 books of it so far. I'm hoping once my finances get in order, I can release more. I've got like 20 books all planned out about it. It's about vampires, the bubonic plague. It's something for everyone.
All the good stuff.
Oh, and the book features 5 main male characters, no secondary female character, and it passes the Bechdel test. I did it to show how easy it is to pass. But anyways, back to my story. So for those who don't know, the writing world, especially the indie writing world, is very, very feminist. If you remember Sad Puppies a few years ago, the Hugo Awards, the social justice warriors were so pissed about that they had 8 no awards in 1 year because they didn't want to give it to any straight white male. That's how bonkers the writing world is. Well, so I originally okay, the writers and authors, they're my people. They're going to want to help out a disabled writer who's just trying to make a go at his life. And out of the $3,000 I was trying to raise, I only got $250. Actually, it was $220. And this is on Kickstarter, so I didn't see any of that money. 6 months later, I decided to go with Gamergate. This was about the time of Gamergate. And out of the $3,000, I raised $750. 3 times more money doing it with the men's movement and the Gamergate movement than the feminist authors community. And that's how great this movement is. Now, yes, I didn't make my full amount, but I made enough money to get 2 books out.
And that's another way we can all help. I mean, I don't have a massive income, but I try and keep just a small bit aside, and go, I can forgo rollies for a couple of days or wine for a couple of days and just donate, £5, £10 to a cause that's related to the men's movement, whether it's, Deborah Powney's fundraiser to raise money to take male victims of domestic abuse on walks through the Lake District, or whether it's Ava Brighton's fundraiser to make a film, or whether it's, there are always, if you're watching fundraisers for dads, who wants to see their children and needs some money for court fees, keep an eye out, and every little helps. There are, there are many of us. I've got like over 9,000 subscribers on Twitter, and whenever I kind of share a link, I'm like, just send $1, send £1, and if you all do that, the target will be met and beyond. Whatever you can manage, and it gives you a warm feeling, and yeah, let's go together.
Something I like to tell people is, first off, when I was doing my book campaign, which technically is a failure, but I still count as a success because I only made $1,200 of the $2,000 I made, which might delay things in my release a little bit, but I'm still trying to release it by the end of the year, is, if 2,000 people gave me $1, I would have met my goal. But a lot of people kind of have this mentality of, if they can't give a lot of money, they can't give anything at all. And, you need to break away from that line of thinking.
Yeah.
Because, think about beavers. They get a lot of sticks together to create a dam. The sticks by themselves are utterly meaningless, but they put it all together and it blocks water. I mean, that's just amazing ingenuity. That's something I'm going to talk about in my speech is, all of these things that we do in the movement, they're bricks. What's a brick? It's just a big, heavy thing. By itself, it's nothing. But we lay a brick down, we lay another brick down, and another. We do it enough times. What do we have? We have a house. We have a building. We have a community center. We have whatever we want to build it into. We just got to keep putting the bricks down. But even if you do not have any money to give, and that's understandable. I don't really have that much to give. Elizabeth doesn't have that money to give. You know what we can do? We can give our time. And our time is just as valuable as money. In fact, in many ways, it's more valuable. Can
I jump in and just let you know that I've just sent the StreamYard link to Eccentric Hat. So he might come and join us soon. But yeah, and also though, I would say, that you want to spend your time wisely. And while it's...
Well, I'm just saying, make a post on Facebook, make a post on Twitter saying, hey, come check this out. Because maybe you can't give money, but maybe you can reach someone who can.
Oh, absolutely. But, I think that Facebook and Twitter, while they're essential, if I see a lot of people every so often, because I don't check my Facebook notifications very often, but every so often I check them, and I'll invariably find someone writing the most engaging essay under one of my posts, and I'm like, dude, log it. Don't leave this on my wall. This will be lost in a day. So, if you are putting a lot of effort into researching what you're saying and, expressing what you mean, put it on Facebook by all means, but make sure it's somewhere where people find it too. Submit it to AVFM, start your own blog. Put your efforts into things that will stay accessible for a long time.
And, I've done that. I have articles on Honey Badger Brigade. I have a few articles on AVFM. I wrote an article on Rise of the Shield Hero, which was the most amazing anime I ever saw. I can't believe it talked about false rape accusations. I mean, that was just amazing. But you know, there are so many things we can do, and I think we've only really scratched the surface. And I want to
I
empower
think
people.
yeah, I think one of the bravest things you can do is approaching your friends and family often, depending on, how naturally red-pilled your friends and family are. That can be a very daunting, difficult conversation to have, but also very rewarding.
You know what I found though is that a lot of people out there are actually purple pilled, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah,
They don't even know there's
yeah.
a men's movement. And I talk to them about some of the things that I do, and they're like, one was so amazed that there's just this whole other world out there that they're not aware of. Like I posted not too long ago on Facebook, like in one of the MBTI groups that I'm in. I really love MBTI, but they were talking about rape, and I used my resources, and it's like, well, according to the CDC study, well, they listed forced to penetrate as sexual assault, not rape. But when Kathy Young for Time Magazine put it back in there, found that men and women get raped in nearly equal numbers. And someone had the response of, well, who's raping these men? Is that like other men? And I'm like, no, the majority of them are women. They were shocked. It's like, are you serious? I'm like, look at the results yourself. Look at Time Magazine's article. I mean, everyone's like, oh, that's a bias. It's Time Magazine. They're biased against us, and they published an article that supports one of our key talking points. I talk to people in public a lot, and I tell them about some of the things I do, and it's just kind of amazing that they're like open to it, that they accept the possibility that men do need help in this world.
That's exactly what I found. I was very reticent to tell the mums at school in particular what I actually thought and knew and believed. Um, but then I started developing relationships with mums at school, and it came to the point where it was like, well, either I'm going to spend a load of time with them, which is wasted time because I'm not being honest about who I am, or I'm going to start drip feeding them my actual personality. And, as I drip fed them the things I knew and thought, the level of horror and, disturbance was remarkably low. They all kind of took it really well. Because I think the fact is that, I'm talking about the mums specifically, and the women do love men. They've got their fathers, husbands, and sons, and brothers, and work colleagues, and friends. And they do care about what they're going through. They don't know what they're going through an awful lot of the time because we don't talk about it. The mainstream media certainly doesn't. And you will have a lot of like, but hang on, what about the wage gap and silly questions like that, that are easily debunked. um, but actually they don't not care. They just don't know, is what I've.
I mean, they've only really listened to one side all of their lives, and
I
even
think
they begin to question it. Does this really sound correct? Is this really true? I mean, it's like, guys, how many rapists do you know? I mean, supposedly by feminist standards, the majority of men are rapists. How many do you actually know? Now, sure, no one's going to come right up to you and say, I'm a rapist. But at the same time, by the statistics alone, if you actually look at it, like 99% of men are not rapists. And
No.
it would be actually very surprising if you actually did know someone who was a rapist who never told you. And people just kind of understand that. Maybe they can't articulate it, but they understand that men are not these evil people that the feminists say they are. They're beginning to wake up. They're beginning to question. But the problem is there's not enough of us out there getting the message out there. We're trying. We're really, really trying. But, I just think that...
I don't know if I'd say it was a problem. I'd say it's moving definitively in the right direction.
I agree.
I mean, there was a poll in 2018, I think it was, in the UK by YouGov and BuzzFeed, and they discovered that like over 30% of young people held anti-feminist views, which were views like, feminism demonizes and belittles men or something like that. And according to Fawcett in 2016, only 7% of the UK population was feminist. So, there are numbers on our side.
And, I've been
Just
seeing
that they have
videos.
all the institutional power.
I've been seeing videos of young people in schools espousing anti-feminist views, giving presentations about how the wage gap is a myth. And
Yeah.
it's like that gives me so much hope that we're moving in the right direction. Maybe at the end of my lifetime, I will start seeing more of an impact. And I am that hopeful of it.
Well, you know what? I've got a card just up there for the 15-year-old daughter of a friend of mine. And she is an MRA. And she has been giving presentations that she's got good marks for about disadvantages faced by men and boys. And I've been reading this book here, Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates. And there's this beautiful moment, and she talked about it in interviews with Loose Women and the Women's Hour on BBC Radio 4 as well. But she says here she's talking about her feminist aggression into schools. And when she goes into schools, more and more she finds that the boys I meet in schools don't even know they hate women. They are mild-mannered, wide-eyed. They think it's only polite to point out the factual inaccuracies and lies repeated by feminists. They have seen misogyny online so often and heard it promoted so persuasively that they wouldn't even recognize it as a form of hate. And what I think is particularly beautiful is where she talks about the factual inaccuracies and lies repeated by feminists. She doesn't even put factual inaccuracies and lies in inverted commas. She's almost admitting that feminists just go into schools and spout factual inaccuracies and lies. But, I have an awful lot of hope for the kind of younger generations, to be honest. What about you, Eccentric Hat? How are you?
Hi, how are things? I do think it's quite funny, that quote. It sounded specifically from the way you were reading it that she was just admitting that these things happen and that people should just have to put up with it because that's the new world order. It reminds me significantly of my gender studies class. We were given totally contradictory pieces of evidence, both of which were said with a straight face. You know, so like for example, we had someone come in as a guest speaker from an organisation that has ears with the Scottish and British governments, and she told us that you would have gendered toys for children, like for example a little doctor's outfit for the boys and a little nurse's outfit for the girls. And she talked about how this was holding girls back. And then a few slides later on her PowerPoint, she showed the breakdown of jobs, and it was very clear that in medicine it was overwhelmingly female. And I was like, by your own PowerPoint, you have shown the inaccuracy of the gendered toys theory.
Well, it kind of reminds me of a conversation I had the other day. I was redesigning this book here, a digital copy of it, and I'm going to do like full page pictures of the girls rather than just small pictures on each page. And I showed a demo to someone who's not really in the movement. I'm kind of guiding them along to help them understand what it is that I do. And I showed her a picture of Ellie Preisman, which I'm sure, as many of you know, she was the one who designed the T-shirt that was part of Shirtgate.
Yeah, no, you should all go on her website. I bought my fella a lovely T-shirt from there. I'm going to get one myself as well. And she sent me a card with it.
But a guy lands a satellite on an asteroid. One of the greatest achievements of mankind, and all people could focus on was his shirts. It's like, oh, well, this is why women are not in STEM, because of shirts like this. And it's like, he has 2 women on his team. How do you figure?
Women designed this shirt. Yeah, but I mean, you know, I was talking about this earlier with the design director at J4MB, actually, Hat, and I did mention you, you know, and she says, well, they think it's only polite to mention the factual inaccuracies and lies. And I thought of conversations I've had with you, and, you know, it wasn't a matter of politeness, it was a matter of concern, because feminists are coming into schools and telling girls that they are more than likely to be raped and assaulted and treated really awfully by men. And what's that meant to do to a young woman's self-esteem and confidence and, you know, attitude to life?
Well, that's exactly what I told the head of the department when I was pulled in to answer for all my misogynistic
crimes.
She said, why are you bringing this up? Why are you disputing things that the lecturer is teaching? And I said, because I don't think that it's beneficial for the mentality or well-being of the students to hear out of context facts or to not hear the other side of the story. If somebody only sees one side of this argument and thinks that the whole world is pitted against them, they're not going to be in a happy place. No. And she said, oh, well, that's noble, but if you are, for example, disputing the wage gap and someone has lived experience of the wage gap, you're actually making things worse because you're saying their lived experience doesn't count.
Well, you know, it's a little bit worse than that. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but for some boys, they hear that they're rapists, they hear that they're monsters, they hear that they're the problems of the world, and they may decide, you know what? There's no point in trying to deny my nature. If that's who I am, that's who I'm going to be. Boys who would otherwise be normal people now believe that they're rapists, they're going to go out and rape.
I disagree with that. I think that would be incredibly unlikely to happen. I think far more likely is that they would become insular and introverted and afraid of themselves. Like rape,
Yeah.
even if you're taught that rape is something that's normal for boys, I don't think boys would be able to do it. Like it's so against our nature that regardless of what you're taught in a class, you won't go out and do it. However, if you were someone who was already mentally ill and you were inclined to do something like that, you might then feel justified and emboldened.
Well, I don't mean all boys. So that right there, I agree with you that the majority of boys wouldn't do it, but they would have such a guilty complex that right now what we're seeing is newer adults coming into this world are not having sex. They're not having relationships, probably because they told that they were horrible rapists and they saw their parents go through a nasty divorce. They don't want to mess with it. Well, but I do think, and I agree with you, that those who might be a little bit on the fence there might decide to go to the crazy route because they were told that's what they are.
I think that it's far more likely to be a cause of suicides than a cause of rapes to be taught these things. I think that young men will become very introverted, will stay at home, they will bury themselves in computer games and pornography, they will not move out of their parents' house until they're 30. They will essentially not take life by the horns because they're told that they should be ashamed of who they are. And the only reason that I didn't bring that up as an argument when I was talking to that lecturer is that the class was overwhelmingly female. So I didn't bring up the detrimental effect that it would have on males because there basically were none.
So is it wrong to live at home when you're 40?
I think that the fact that young men are statistically far more likely to be at home than young women is very much speaking to the differences between what messages society is giving to these genders. Young women are likely to be out of their home by the age of 25, overwhelmingly, whereas young men have a massive gap in terms of when they are likely to be out of their parents' home. And girls are told, don't let anything stop you, don't let anything hold you back. You are powerful, you are strong, you are beautiful, and we will give you as many helpful hands as we can along the way. Whereas boys are told, you are the worst thing that ever happened and life was built for you, so we're not going to give you the slightest bit of help at all. If anything, you deserve to be held back. And even though females are the majority of college places, university is still a male-dominated field somehow, so piss off. I brought it up in the gender studies class when that guest speaker was in. I said that university is almost 60-40 female. So why is her organization not helping men get into university? And she said, because the girls aren't choosing the right subjects. They're not choosing enough STEM fields. And I was like, well, what about all the girls in this class? Why did you even let them in? Why didn't you tell them to go away and apply for STEM?
Well, I asked that question because I'm 40 years old and I'm still living with my mother, but I'm also disabled and can't work a job, so I might be a special exception.
Well, I mean, it's to each their own, but the numbers are not lying. Well,
I agree with you. It's a major cause of concern and something I will bring up in my book series, that especially when it comes to dating, but that less people dating, the less children will be born. And we're going to come into a major financial crisis. Our economy is going to take a hit in a generation or two because there's not enough people working. There's not enough generations behind them that are going to continue to give the taxes. And without taxes, the government can't do anything. And soon there's going to actually, we're starting to see a little bit now where feminists are trying to shame men into being with women to have children with and then get
and
a divorce.
traditionalists.
Yeah, but they're trying to shame the incels, trying to shame the MGTOWs, and they're trying to get other men to patronize other men, saying, "Hey, if you're not hooking up with a woman, you're not a real man," because they see the writing on the wall. If they can't get men to hook up with women to at least reproduce, the economy is going to be in trouble in the next 50 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Christina Hoff Sommers once said that the war on boys is a war on our technological future.
I remember Paul. Paul Ryan, the American congressman. He brought this up at one point, and he said, that we need to have more children because we're producing a graying population, and we will end up with a top-heavy structure. And he said, I myself have 3 children. I've done my part. And all the feminists could talk about was how he had not given enough credit to his wife. He hadn't done his part. She had done his part. She had had those children, not him.
Oh, for God's sake.
So Vernon asked me a question in chat, which I want to go ahead and answer. By the way, Eccentric Cat, have we met before?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. I have a super bad memory. Remember the part
when
where
we had a stream, he has an avatar and with a big top hat.
Okay. I thought I remembered you. I just wanted to make sure. It's nice to see you again. But the question in the chat is from Vernon, who was also in that stream, if I remember correctly, right?
I think we should come in this one.
Yeah, Vern, if you want to come in, let me know.
I'll send him the link. How did I send it? Okay, go on. What's the question?
He said, how am I doing with the book, and has the crowdfunding helped? And, since I didn't get the success that I was hoping for with the crowdfunding, I ended up starting to do Lyft. So, and which has been great. It's been a major boost to myself, but trying to get that integrated in my life has delayed my efforts with the book, but I actually have now started writing it, and I am pushing. It probably won't come out November 19th like I want, but I'm trying to push by the end of the year. I really want to try to release this in 2020. Worst case scenario, it might be delayed until February of 2021. We'll see what happens, but I really, really want to push this book. And right now, so many people are interested in my book that it's like I can't not write it. I feel like they're going to hang me up by my thumbs if I don't finish this book. So I have plenty of incentive. And Vernon said he's would love to join. I'll just send him a link on Facebook.
I've sent him one on Twitter.
Well, fine then. It's only my channel, but I guess I have no control.
I know. Well, I'm just incredibly efficient.
The women are taking over.
That's exactly what I've been doing all night. I've been reading the Scum Manifesto. I've just published the video about 2 seconds ago. It's an hour and 40 minutes long, and it's Valerie Solanas' bizarre and terrible thoughts. But I'm wearing a lovely dress, so I do recommend everyone check it out.
I only worry, that that you're so kind of fragile and feeble-minded, Liz, that it may turn you. You'll read a manifesto and you'll just be like, she's right. My God,
I did think she had some good ideas. Yeah, exactly. The walking dildos was the highlight. and women don't have, essentially men all have pussy envy. That's actually true, isn't it? Let's be honest. Can we be honest? Just a
Well,
second.
yeah, I mean, as much as I enjoy my rather large cock, and yes, I'm willing to prove that I have a large cock, I sometimes wonder about a vagina. I
Tell
hear
me
such
when
good
it's
things about
over.
that.
Is that why you're disabled? It weighs you down. I mean, I don't know about pussy envy, Liz, but certainly breast envy. Everybody would love a big pair of norks.
Yeah, but they sag, don't they? Like, you get older.
Oh, I
Hey,
don't.
badge of
I'm
honor.
quite happy with my kind of like moderately sized norks.
Yes,
Hello.
I'm very proud of them as well. Not that I've seen them.
It's lovely to see you, Vernon.
Hey, how's it going?
Vernon,
Hello.
Back on.
Hey guys.
Vernon actually drew the new avatar that I've been using on
Put it
MRE.
up, love.
I don't know how.
Hold on, guys.
The avatar or his
There is
penis?
a way,
I'm sure there is.
but I don't know how.
This one.
Hey, there is.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Just
All
slide
watercolor.
it over the screen into the next box.
Yeah. I can't, but yeah.
Darn.
Yep.
You see, this is why this is a major concern, because a woman doesn't understand how technology works. And if there's fewer men in the world,
You see,
There's
a war on boys, a war on our technological future. Women are just like, it's just there. Put it there.
there's a quote from Titanic that says, "Woman and machinery should not mix." You know, and I know that it's meant to be outdated because it's from 1912, but if anything, it's progressive.
yeah, true that. But you know what always surprises me is when it comes to feminists talking about like the greatest women in the world, there's always so many prominent women that they forget about. And it's like Myers and Briggs, two women who designed an entire system for psychology that is widely used today, and yet they're missing off the list.
And well, I mean, it tends to be like essentially male achievements that they try to emulate, if you know what I mean. Like, as in, they will take fields that men are dominant in and then say, look how many women have added to that, as opposed to taking fields that women are dominant in and saying, look how many women have added to that. So it's like it's not just about women having contributed to society. It's specifically about women competing with men.
It is this like blinkered, closeted, elitist, like gross definition of power that feminists have. I hate it.
I get all the time that if I like, for example, I will say that society is not, whatever flaws society has, it's not simply the fault of men, it's not simply the fault of the patriarchy. Women have contributed to it too. And I will immediately get, how can you say that? Women have never had any power. How is it possible that they could be responsible for these flaws? But then if you say, well, all the benefits of society, all the good parts, all the major accomplishment, that is critical to men, they will immediately come back with, oh yeah, and did men exist in a vacuum? What about their mothers? What about their sisters? What about their wives?
Well, I have something to add to that. If women had no power whatsoever until like 20 years ago or 40 years ago, however far you want to go back, then how was it that they got prohibition in the United States in the 1920s? Because that was the combination of the temperance movement and the feminist movement, who pressured the government into outlawing alcohol. The women had no power.
I'm reminded of a Milton Friedman. I I want to say interview, but it was more of a talk on the Donahue show, and it was mentioning how all the men went to war and the women who remained voted in prohibition.
Oh, that's salt in the wound, isn't it?
Mhm.
Very literally.
That's the thing, isn't it? That feminists will say women had no power because they were stuck at home with the children. And it's like they were at home completely alone with the vulnerable next generation. They could have taught them anything they wanted. They could have molded them into any shape. And yet they chose to perpetuate a system that oppressed them for thousands of years. It's like women either did have power and chose to create the society along with men, or women are surprisingly stupid. Like, incredibly.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I find it intensely offensive. Hang on, I'm going to grab something to show you that I rather like.
It's so professional in a stream when two of the people wander off.
So this
Sorry,
in the pink is me. That's my mum. That's my grandmother, and that's my great-grandmother. So there's 4 generations of Hobson women right there. Sorry, I can't work out where my camera is. But, you know, my great-grandmother, who everyone says I take after, was like, she was a teenager during World War II. And there's some great stories from that. But, you know, World War II generations of women, like, they were the women before feminism freed women, right? I mean, they had the vote, but, like, you know, second wave hadn't come. They didn't have, you know, employment rights and abortion rights and all of that. And the idea that she was oppressed is so ridiculous, because she was the strongest, most awesome, sensible, bloody woman I've ever met. And it really grates on me when people go, yeah, but, you know, she didn't have, like, second wave feminism either. So she was, chattel. She was chattel. You know what I mean? It's like she would fucking rationalize you under the table, mate.
I love them.
You know, she had great power, great individual, like, spiritual, womanly power.
I love when you have like a family gathering and you see the older generation, you know, people like who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, the husbands and wives, and they always seem, you know, in such an incontrovertible bond, you know, the type of connection that you just can't get without so long in a union together. And I keep on thinking I'll watch them just, you know, have this intense closeness, and I'll be thinking to myself, these are the generations that were so oppressed. You know, these are the women that their husbands treated like objects, and it baffles me how you can look at that and not realize what bullshit you've been fed.
I remember that I was on a episode of the Honey Badgers. I think it was one of the Tuesday shows where we were talking about Star Trek. And I had made mention that it was because of Lucille Ball because Star Trek had a failed pilot, and it was Lucille Ball who pushed for a second pilot, which was unheard of back then. Only one other show had a second pilot, which was Doctor Who. And because of that, Star Trek became what it is today. And I remember Allison said to me, it's like, wait a minute, you mean a woman who had no power whatsoever made a life change, a cultural revolution that is Star Trek? She didn't say that exactly, but it was the sentiment. It's like this woman She had no power. According to feminism, she was chattel. And yet, she is responsible for Star Trek.
Yep, that's correct.
It's also
question. What year was that?
the 1960.
Late
1960. Well, in 1963, Elizabeth Taylor became the highest paid actor in the world ever for her role in Cleopatra. Her paycheck dwarfed that of it was Richard Richard something? Richard Burton, of course.
Oh, really, Richard Burton?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like you said. The other show that had a second pilot was Doctor Who, and that was in 1963, and it was a woman again who pushed for that because Doctor Who was released the same day Kennedy was assassinated, and so obviously nobody noticed. And the next week, she said, "Put it on again, but instead of putting the second episode, put the first episode and the second episode out because I want people watching this." It was a woman who was producing it. And also when it comes to Jaws, which was the 1970s, the rubber shark was famous for not working. In fact, the whole crew kept on calling the movie flaws. And it was the female producer who said, "Why don't we do the whole movie where all you see is the fin? Like, until the end of the movie, you never see the shark, you just see the fin. Why don't we do it like that?" And it was her decision to take the technical flaw of the movie and turn it into a revolutionary way of doing cinema. Because that movie is so famous, and 99% of the film, all you see is a fin underwater. You never see the monster.
You know, women do have some great contributions to our society, but the unfortunate part is when we listen to feminists, which none of us do, we're led to believe that women didn't do anything.
All the time.
Well, you actually read the Scum Manifesto, so how do we know?
How do you know? Well, I like comparative literature.
I like listening to feminism because I'm a massive fan of science fiction. But yeah, this is my point, that feminists will shove in your face, look at these women's accomplishments if you ever argue that society was done by men, but they don't put that in your face at any other time. It's only when they want to contradict you. So you have to sort of push them into that area. But when they are in, a gender studies class, what they will talk about is how much women are held back. They won't say, look at how much women did, and this clearly proves that women were major contributors to society and people respected them. They will just say, look how little women were respected. Look how little women were able to do. And I think to myself, as the anti-feminist, I've got to remind you of women's successes.
Yeah, I mean, I am really into music, and I've been putting frames up of all of my favorite musicians on my kitchen wall and kind of tallying up how many men and women there are. And there are significantly fewer women. And I don't think that's because I'm a bigot. I think that's because there are more male musical genius. But there are enough women to suggest that there isn't a glass ceiling.
Well, apparently you're not married to Steve Shive's wife, who would tell you that you are sexist because you don't have enough women on your wall.
Apparently, I'm not married to Steve Shive's wife. Do you think I might be? Till I said that.
It was certainly on the table.
Did you think that was Steve Shives for a second there? Was it the neck beard?
It was the butthole mouth.
You're so off the Christmas card list. Your mum's
Yeah,
not.
well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you blocked me, Steve Shives.
I've been off Twitter. I've been off Twitter, but I felt like tweeting Laura Bates today, and I went to her profile and she blocked me.
You know, I'm tempted to go to Laura Bates and like, look at this hateful book, How to Destroy a Woman Now. That like really supports your book, right?
I just wanted to show her that I fixed her book.
Yeah, I saw it.
You see it? She even crossed out women for me. I didn't even have to do it.
Yeah, I was confused at the title at first because I thought it was just men who hate because they crossed out the women part. So I thought it was you're not supposed to say it.
Yeah, well, no, it is because she's basically conflating any kind of hatred with misogyny, which means anyone who thinks men aren't awful, according to her.
I got one today because I put out a tweet yesterday that said, "Believe women," and I said, "I do," because I listen closely to the strong friends of men who debunk feminism. And someone replied with a couple of memes of just like vapid women with captions that said things like, if I treat women shittily just like you, will you respect me? And I wrote back to them and said,
that's misogyny.
Well, yeah, exactly. I wrote back to them and said, you're accusing me of not respecting women while sending me memes portraying any woman that disagrees with you as an idiot.
Yeah.
When you treat women like shit, that's misogyny.
I mean, the only misogyny, I don't know about the only, probably the only, I can't think of any other experiences, but certainly the vast majority of misogyny that I've experienced has been directed at me from feminists.
Isn't that so amazing? Like, feminists will say, oh, well, they have to wear makeup because men are so hypercritical of a woman's looks. And it's like, most of us actually don't want women to wear makeup. It's other women who are detrimental to what girls look like that causes women to try to dress as sexy or provocative as possible.
Well, yeah, it's other women that they're competing with. That's the whole point. That if you were the only woman in the world, like Rihanna, then you wouldn't have to care what you look like because you'd be valuable just for being there. Whereas the more women there are, the more you have to compete, the more you have to make efforts to stand out. So women wear makeup to compete with other women, not for men.
It's not always to compete with other women. Sometimes it's like to play with other women. Like when I dressed up for Greta last night.
Well, yes. It's I suppose there can be complementary stuff.
I mean, I think there is a significant amount of intersexual competition that goes on between women, and I think that the feminist movement is like just massively guilty of intersexual competition. But I think that a lot of anti-feminist women actually really enjoy female beauty. I sent Eccentric Cat a picture earlier of my bedroom windowsill, and it's just full of beautiful women. I don't hate them because they're more beautiful than me. They give me joy because they're more beautiful than me. But I think feminists, I mean, I've had it. I've had when I was at the Open University, and I went on the debate forum before our course started, and people were talking shit. So I was like, no, that ain't right. It's more like this. And a couple of men agreed with me. And then all the women started ganging up on me, going, "That's just because you're young and beautiful. They're just agreeing with you because you're young and beautiful." And I was like, "Well, hang on a minute. You know, they've disagreed with me for like X, Y, and Z. They've disagreed with me one time about feminism. Like, then what? It's obviously not that. Obviously, they have minds of their own, you know."
Well, I think there's another reason why women wear makeup that's worth discussing is they're trying to hide their age. And, it's been long known that putting white makeup on you makes you look younger. And many cultures have discovered this. And I think there's just so die hard and fading, trying to hide their imperfections, trying to make themselves look as young as they can. And it's kind of funny because as they get older, they've done so much damage to their face. They just look much older than they actually are. That's actually one thing I like about Karen Strawn is she doesn't look like someone who wears a lot of makeup, and yet she has aged so beautifully. I mean, she's in her 40s now, and she looks quite nice. I mean, I know she wears makeup here and there, but I don't think she's ever really done it to the point where it's to excess. But
No,
a lot of
she's very attractive. But that's mainly I mean, I've had a fair few heated debates about where she falls, on the scale. Because I put her at a solid 9.5. But I mean, I think a fair, at least 2 points are just cerebral.
Can I say that? Yeah, I've never noticed
and
what
ethical.
looks like. I
You
judged.
noticed what?
I've never noticed what she looked like. I judged her purely on her intellect. I like it's.
Oh, I have.
Well, it's
She's hot. You should look again.
I think it's definitely true that that like feminists encourage women to not have any kind of beauty standards whatsoever because they see those as patriarchal. But the thing is that just like you said, Mad Cat, and just like Elizabeth said, women will wear makeup and stuff to compete with other women, but also to impress other women. And you'll never get them to stop doing that because they enjoy it. Women enjoy dressing up. So, like, all feminism does is end up creating a collection of particularly unattractive women, but it doesn't change society because wanting to be beautiful and stand out isn't even a female trait, it's a human trait. Everybody wants to be beautiful and stand out. So feminism doesn't change the world, it just makes certain women unattractive.
Well, first off, thank you for my fanfic idea of you and Karen. But secondly, look at what feminism does. They tell fat women it's okay to be fat. It's okay to be unhealthy. Basically, what they're saying is, please remain ugly, so by comparison, we look attractive.
Well, that seems to be the driving force. It's that patriarchal standards are oppressive because men don't find us as attractive as I want them to. I mean, how, like, they talk about men's entitlement. How entitled can you get to go up to someone and say, you should fancy me regardless of the efforts I put in? Yeah. And if you don't, you're a bad person.
Do you have anything you want to add, Vernon? I know we all just really like to talk a lot. I want to make sure you get a chance to.
That's all right. I'm just waiting for my mom to jump in because I don't, I mean, I tried wearing eyeliner in high school once, but that didn't work out.
Oh, I think you'd look lovely with a bit of eyeliner. I do like a man in makeup. Well, no, I don't. I do and I don't. I love a man in obvious makeup like eyeliner or bright red lipstick or blue eyeshadow. But
Or
you know,
corkscrew.
like a man wearing like bronzer, I'd run a mile.
I'm going to show you, Elizabeth, my picture of a Halloween I did where I went as zombified Where's Waldo, and I did my own makeup. Not Halloween makeup, actual makeup.
Bated breath.
I was gonna
Waldo's
find
in trouble now with all that social distancing.
But yeah, I do think it's so amazing that women fall for this, that they're
Well,
told,
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
well, no, there is something messed up. Because I remember having a conversation with Nick Reddin, and he was like, "Makeup messes up your skin," and I was like, "No, it doesn't." But I've never been that good at makeup, and I decided I wanted to get more good at makeup because I looked at Belle Delphine. So I started using primer, and within like a week, I had all these spots. And he was showing me pictures of her.
Love it.
It looks like Waldo has a particularly aggressive partner.
Yeah.
It's domestically Waldo.
Waldo goes to prison. What? I see nothing. I see a rack of spices and.
Oh, so you're noticing my rack, I see. No, there was something else that was on there for a split second that I didn't think would show up there, but you know, if you really want to know, you can go back and watch.
It might be best if I don't. Yeah, so Nick Reddin was telling me makeup's bad for my skin, and I didn't believe him. And then I tried to wear more makeup to make myself more beautiful, and it made my skin awful. And it's not worth that. And because he was showing me pictures of like Belle Delphine without her makeup, and she's got all this acne, and I was like, well, maybe she wears all the makeup because she's got acne. But then I tried all the makeup and I got acne. So,
Well,
it's not worth that. A little bit of powder.
I remember
a little bit of
the girls in school who used to wear like neon orange foundation.
Oh yeah.
And I don't get that at all. I don't know what I don't know any guys who found that attractive. I think it was as you said, Liz. I think it was like an overcompensation for the fact that obviously you get acne. But it was so weird, and you would have this like line at their neck where it would stop being orange and start being skin again, and their collars were covered in orange foundation as well.
You know what else is funny regarding like the color of your skin though? Like, so Caucasian British women have this thing, a lot of them, where they want to make themselves look more bronze or brown, and they color their skin with all kinds of stuff and go to massive effort, and half the time end up looking ridiculous. But like, I've got a Thai friend who is so concerned about being really pale that she won't go out in the sun. And if she has to go out in the sun, absolutely has to, she'll carry like a parasol. So she's shaded. And it's like, I kind of think all the skin colors are quite beautiful. You know, I do put a bit of like powder on and stuff like that, but I put it on in the same shade that I just am. Because it's fine. Like there is no skin color that I look at and go like, Jesus Christ, you should cover that up with some paint. And you get the Indians who bleach their skin. It's bizarre.
I said
it's like just live in your skin color.
I said the same thing when that came out as a big protest, when people were complaining that in India, skin whitening creams were being sold, and they said that this was clearly white privilege, you know, and
It's just
and
women's eternal dissatisfaction with their own appearance.
Indians were being encouraged to become more pale in order to fit in with the white superior race or whatever it was. And I said, well, what about all the white women that tan themselves? You know,
Yeah.
how does that add up to white being superior? Is it not just that people want to stand out wherever they are? And if they live in a predominantly white culture, they will go more dark. And if they live in a predominantly dark culture, they'll go more white.
Well, it is that. But I mean, I think where you have, you know, if we are looking, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I could be off the mark, but I kind of feel like in Britain, having dark skin is a mark of being able to afford holidays in expensive places. And in India, you know, they have their religious kind of icons, and pale skin is a sign of purity. So you have like Lakshmi, who is just like white.
Something that, well, I've actually used makeup, and it's only when I'm doing videos for like Udemy where I'm teaching, because okay, I have acne and I just want to cover up my flaws so people focus on what I'm teaching and not how ugly I am. I'm a 6, okay, I admit it. But ever since I've done that, I begin to notice women wearing makeup. And like, I was with a prostitute about a month ago, and I have no shame on that. You know, I need sex just like everyone else. But I was with her, and she was wearing so much heavy makeup. And I looked at her, and that's all I could see. I mean, there's a naked woman in front of me, and all I can see is what is she hiding? And it's like, it's almost a curse now, because it's like, I'm noticing women who wear makeup. And I've always kind of noticed, but now that I know the secret behind it, it's like, I appreciate women who don't wear makeup. That are willing to be the real.
Yeah. I mean, I think that some women in particular are attractive without makeup, but I like men and women who wear a bit for personality. But then when you are wearing it, kind of, you know, it's a mask. That's
a little bit of makeup is not bad, and I won't fault anyone for that. But if you're wearing Cesar Romero level of makeup, and for those who don't understand that reference, he wore heavy stage makeup to cover the fact that he had a goatee when he played the Joker on Batman.
Well, it didn't work.
If you didn't know that, look at pictures of him. You'll see the goatee, and then you'll never unsee it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Vernon, can we get you in like stage makeup to cover your facial hair? I love it. I wouldn't if I were you, but I just wondered if like we could.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more into the line of corpse paint or something.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. That's probably what it was, because, you know, they use what they can get, don't they, in sets.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would love to tell women that they don't have to try so hard for most of us men. I mean, you could just wear jeans and a t-shirt and no bra, and we're perfectly happy. Especially the no bra part.
Well, at least something more innocent anyway. Like, I think women are trying way, way too hard. And there's nothing, how do I put it? There's nothing really joyful about it, in my personal opinion. It's kind of gotten that, you know, the fun kind of completely gutted out of it. It's this, it's so revealing and flashy, it's almost sterile, if that makes any sense.
I mean,
yeah,
they wear
that does.
They wear high heels, they wear all sorts of makeup, they do everything to alter the way they actually look. And do they realize that once we see what they really look like, that's going to alter us? Like, oh, we thought we saw one thing and now we're seeing something completely different. I might have a negative reaction to that, but I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to love a woman no matter what she looks like. And maybe I would have loved her just fine if she showed me what she actually looked like. Now I feel lied to.
Yeah, but what's that song that Ben Shapiro does a great cover of? Just come out. It's really offensive. It's like about dripping wet pussies.
Wet ass pussy?
Wet ass pussy, yeah. So, I think that crosses the line between like sexy and it just gets to the point where it's so biological, it's sterile.
Well, I've been having a conversation about that with someone like Peter Wright and stuff like that. He and I correspond a whole lot about about stuff like that, and like, it's like, on one end, there's kind of the puritanism of just kind of denying anything sexual and just making sure you don't get that, right? But on the other side, you have it so out there and mainstream that the entire point of sexuality, that is, that pursuit and mystery and that bit of joyous excitement, is completely gone. And it's like this horseshoe kind of a thing. Like, you both meet up at a puritanical end at the top, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Like, isn't it all about the pursuit and the game and the like, can I, could I, would she, would he?
And it's not even cynical on either part, it's just it's not.
No, I think that's what part of the fun is who is that person, and are they what I see now, or could there be more? But the problem is the modern feminist movement, the modern media, all of that has convinced women that they look at a guy like me, there's nothing. This is just all I am. Ignore me. And it's the 80-20 rule that we have right now. 80% of the women want the top 20% of men. So the 80% of men that don't fall in that group are ignored. Because there's no mystery to us, because hey, if I don't have lots of money, if I don't have a means to take care of them, if I'm not good looking, I'm worthless.
Right. I'm trying to like put out more of like a men's value for being who they are, and like not just being who they are and like just be yourself and do nothing else and you'll be fine, but just you as like a standard of value to yourself. That I want to really promote that kind of angle for men's esteem.
Warren Farrell in The Boy Crisis calls that the men's emancipation, because women have had their emancipation, but society still expects men to live like we're in the 1950s. And if women want their emancipation, then men need their emancipation, where they live for themselves, that they do for themselves. And if a woman wants to be a part of their life, it comes down to a simple question. A man can make himself happy. Why does he need you? What can you do that he cannot do for himself already? And if your only value is looking pretty and making your life better, he shouldn't date you at all. And that's something, I'm there with you, Vernon, that's something we need to push men to do, is stop sacrificing yourself for women. It's not worth it. Unless she demonstrates that she's willing to do the same for you, ignore her. Focus on yourself. Don't get that boring ass job because you have to raise a family. Get the job of your dreams, of your passions.
Right. Like I was agonizing over writing a new blog article about why sacrifice is so outspoken by just about any kind of demographic on any given context, and I'm kind of against that sort of an idea. So I was just taking a break from it. I came across this chat going on. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're kind of straying into the realms of endorsing MGTOW, which I do fully, but I also endorse WGTOW because, I think that part of the problem with like the divorce rate is that we don't say to women, and Warren talks about this in the Boy Crisis. We don't say to them, "What do you want?" We say to them, "What is important is that he is, a good provider." But actually, that's not all that matters to a lot of women. And so if we all went MGTOW or WGTOW for a proportion of our lives, we could learn how to satisfy ourselves, learn what it was that would be valuable to integrate into our lives through another person. And maybe we could, bring the divorce rate down a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we could make some more happier relationships.
Well, it starts with something Paul said. How well does a woman handle the word no? If she wants you to do something and you say no to her, how she handles that determines if she's worth marrying or not. If she freaks out on you, run away. If she's like, oh, okay, and there's no retaliation whatsoever, you just don't want to do it, well, she might be worth keeping around.
Yes.
Bree's been good about that. So.
And I think we killed Eccentric.
No, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, I don't empathize with it personally, but I do kind of come into contact with school mums who are like, well, my partner wanted to go out with his mates, so I made him do this or that. And I'm like, what? They didn't necessarily say no, but they said yes with caveats.
Yeah.
I find bizarre. It's like he wanted
the problem
to do
is that she's
something that
letting
is his
him.
right.
The problem is she's letting him do it, right? As in, has her permission.
Well, I think there's two problems. I think there's a problem with her insisting and a problem with him accepting. Yeah.
Well, and it's like a lot of women approach it as, well, he has me. Why does he need friends? I'm the love of his life. He should want to do everything for me. Why does he need to go out? And that's what a lot of women do is, and they say it's abusive when men do this to women, but women do this to men all the time. They separate them from their friends. They isolate them. And I forget what this is specifically called. There is a very specific term. And I actually mentioned it in How to Destroy Women, because a lot of what I did for How to Destroy Women is I took things that women did and said, do against them. But they will isolate men from their friends. And that if they want to go out, it's like you said, it's with caveats. It's like, well, you can do this, but you have to do these other things, or try to guilt them into not leaving. It's like, fine, go out. I don't care. Oh, are you mad? No, I'm not mad. You just do whatever you want to do. It's like,
You always do.
yeah.
Mm. Indeed.
Want to do something cool?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I ever show anybody this? Oops.
Oh, that's awesome.
Is that 3D chess?
Yeah, Star Trek 3D chess.
That's so cool.
Like I knocked the
Oh my God, my boys would love that.
Yeah.
I can't play chess because I'm a woman, but my boys would love that.
Well, they only made the queen strong to appease the feminists, so.
My good God, I have got to look that up and try and get. That is such a Christmas present for our.
I saw one in a gaming shop for about $200.
Yeah, I think this one's
It looks
about roughly
expensive.
$300, but I got a lot of rewards with that went into it. So
I'm gonna start saving.
yeah.
Well, I got a few new toys. If you want to see what I got a subscription box.
I'm kind of scared of what your new toys would be.
Got a knife.
Nice.
I don't know how well you can see that, but it's Damascus. And then
A little scary.
I got this
Is it worse?
pocket knife that has a fork. It has a spoon.
Fairly innocent. Is it going to
And-
have dildo extension also?
It also has a knife on the spoon side, so you can like have a
Oh, so you can stab someone up if it comes to it.
Yeah.
knife and fork.
Mm-hmm.
So a nice little thing. I also got these glasses as well with
I love them.
a decanter.
Yeah.
So it's bespoke. It's a subscription box, and they have like a lot of really cool things. I want something like once a month that I can kind of feel like surprise. It's a present.
Is that the thing that they send like monthly a box of random man stuff?
Yeah, the random stuff they were sending me was the knife. I ordered some extra things so I could delay payment on it for over $100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I was wondering if I could I was considering starting a Subscribe Star for some of the videos and the articles and the music I do and stuff like that. And a perk I was wondering is playing 3D chess with me over the internet.
I want to play 3D chess with you. I don't really like chess to begin with, but I'm sure I could give you a good game.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, the chess that I really like is two circles. I don't know if you've seen it, and they spin around. So it creates kind of a sphere chess. So when you...
Like, are you sure you haven't taken acid and just played a normal game of chess and it messed with
I'm
your
sorry.
head,
You
man?
have me confused with someone who's cool.
Why am I out of
I
focus?
wish I did acid. Might make my life better.
I've got a good game. How about we all grab the book nearest to us, open it up, read the most interesting sentence, and have a discussion about it?
Well, the nearest book to me is The Boy Crisis. So
Let's do it. You first.
I'm listening. I just need to find the nearest
open it
book.
up random to a random location or somewhere I've already read.
Completely random.
Well, completely random. All right. All right. So, as you see, I do a lot of highlights. I have like 6 different colors I use. And I'll read the most important one. The more survival is at stake, the more boys are valued to risk death so others might live. Your son learns the hero paradox to value himself by not valuing himself.
I love that part of it, and he talks about how one of the most important attributes of fatherhood is valuing yourself, because your kids fucking need you to be alive, and how all the other messages about masculinity encourage you to sacrifice yourself, but it's like the most important part, your fatherhood, demands that you fucking stay alive whatever you do. Moved me.
Well, that actually made me think about something because I posted an article on Facebook that a woman says that if you're kicking your child and they say stop, you stop. And I disagree with that notion because they're saying, oh, well, it just tells them that their body has no value. I'm like, oh, Lord. But I was thinking about what Jordan Peterson said about roughhousing and how important it is, especially for fathers, to do it to their children. And as much as I hate my stepfather, we roughhouse. And it was always so enjoyable. We would like do wrestling like on TV and we'd play around like that. And yeah, occasionally I'd be tickled, like, stop, stop, stop. But I didn't really want it to stop. It's just kind of a natural reaction to say stop. But it was kind of fun to be kind of forced to do something that felt good. And it's hard to explain.
Well, you're learning boundaries, aren't you? You're learning boundaries of what's okay.
Yeah, and you're kind of experiencing thrill that ambiguous area between don't do it and keep on doing it. You know,
Yeah.
almost like a micro version of a roller coaster. Almost, it's kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my mother used to refer to it as "Stop it, I like it," and I mean it's exactly the same way that animals do it. Kittens do it. You know, they will play with each other and they'll do like, you know, they'll nibble at each other and it'll all be fun, and then one of them will suddenly squeak, you know, to let the other one know that whatever it was, that was too far. So
Yeah, if you get a particularly rough kitten, then none of the kittens will play with it.
it is an important bit of socialization.
It is.
I don't think you want me to read from this thing.
I can't see what it is. Go on.
Is it Debbie Does Dallas?
Regular
'Cause I've already read
expression.
that book.
I don't know what it is. Go on.
No,
Give us a go.
no. I'm gonna do something else after this one. Let's see. Match your append replacement string buffers, SB string replacement append substring preceding match and replacement to SB.
That's
Potato.
exactly what I've been thinking about recently.
Yeah.
It's actually
Yes.
what my ICMI speech is all about.
Right. I got something better though. I picked up this role-playing game.
Ah.
Yeah. Sagi Yojimbo. One of the influences for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right. But it's a role-playing game of it. So.
You and me should have like more voice conversations because we seem to know a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah. Social class, commoner. You begin the game with a bow, staff, and a kodachi, sword. You have an how many lines am I reading?
Go on. Keep going.
All right. You have an innate understanding of the supernatural. This ability is your curse, as you are a target of monsters, demons, and otherworldly forces who seek to destroy you. Some may see you as a threat. Others may desire to consume your power. You also lack standing in society, as other people cannot appreciate your struggle, and many find you to be bad luck or just plain creepy.
Oh my God! They
My
stole my
God.
life.
Yeah.
I think
me.
that's very interesting.
Yeah. This should be fun.
Actually, you know what? I lied. This is the closest book to me. Let me read from a random place. Okay, we'll read right next to this beautiful goddess here. Okay, so it says 10 to 15% of those diagnosed as anorexic or bulimia are male.
How much percent was that? Sorry.
10 to 15.
Patriarchy hurts men too. Pat, you got a book with you.
Yep. Is it my turn?
What's it say? It's your turn.
It's called The History Man, and it's a fictional novel. It's about a professor at a university having a love affair. I was sent it by a sociology lecturer who happens to be in the Scottish Family Party, and he thought I would really find it interesting. I haven't read very much of it though.
Whoa. Good God. There's a sociology lecturer in the Scottish Family Party.
It sure is.
I'm shocked.
I don't
I
want your
didn't know there were
difference.
any like sociology professors who were in any way based at all left. It's
Wait
good
a
to
minute.
hear. Encouraging. Is he old, young,
Oh, he's in his middle ages.
middle? It's even more confusing. I thought maybe he's a dinosaur or maybe he's like, you know, a young radical, but in the middle. I don't know what to make of him. It's a him, right? You did say he.
Yes.
Yeah. Go on.
Wait a minute, says Howard. Are you proposing to read all that? Yes, sir, says Kermody. I'm not, sir, says Howard. I don't want your deference. Now, what did I ask you to do? You asked me to look at Mill, Marx, and Weber and make a report, says Kermode. I asked you to go away and read their works over the vacation, says Howard, and then to make a spontaneous verbal statement to this class, summing up your impressions. I didn't ask you to produce a written paper and then sit here with your head hanging over it, presenting formalized and finished thoughts. What kind of group experience is that? You did say that, sir, says Kermode, but I thought I could do something more developed. I've put in so much time on this. I don't want it developed, says Howard. I want development to occur in discussion.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm a snob first and foremost. I'm a published writer. Use something other than says. I'm like, there's over 1,000 different dialogue tags you can use. Say something, says this person, says this person. How did they say it?
I didn't notice that. I just thought that lecturer was the right cunt.
I actually noticed. I read a novel called How Not to Write a Novel that was by a publisher, and she said the opposite of what you're saying. She said that too many authors try to use synonyms for the word said, and it detracts from the dialogue.
Yeah,
Just say the word say over
I
and over
get
again.
that. I think there is a beauty in using the simplest possible language, something that I generally kind of naturally try to avoid just because I really like words. But actually, I will quite often hand my work over to people and they will go like, why are you using the word soliloquize? You could say said or something, you know what I mean? It's like it makes your work more elitist if you are constantly using kind of synonyms for simple words.
She said it becomes a fight between the author's thesaurus and the reader's dictionary.
Yeah.
I agree to a degree with what they're saying, and there is such a thing as doing it too much. But at the same time, you do the same thing over and over, it becomes repetitious. So if you're always using says, they said, he said, she said, then it's like, what are you doing here? He said.
Yeah, but hang on. I mean, said is like a very basic word. That's like saying you've used the word I too much.
That can be a
Surely.
legitimate.
Like if you use the word, I don't know, vermilion several times in a paragraph, it would get tiresome. But said kind of just, you don't even see the word said. It just kind of.
But it's also a wasted opportunity, in my opinion, because, it's like you could use the word asked. And maybe it's one of those words that you can ignore, I agree, but then there are so many other words that, and I wish I could just, I'm tired right now, but
now one way
there's a happy medium.
This is good. This is good. I'm going to read some Laura Bates to you.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. It's all... How long does it go on for? I just... My eyes are lighted upon Hobson. But it looks like she's talking about him for quite a while. Do you mind if I read for a while? We're talking like a solid minute and a half.
Well, before that, did you want to say something real quick, Vernon? You look like you did.
With regards to the saids and the alternatives thereof, like one way I've seen it being dealt with, like when the dialogue is going like a back and forth, so you're not saying said all the time. It's just say said maybe early on, then kind of just make it just the dialogue, because we're assuming that the reader knows who's talking, and so like did you say that? Yes. Well, it's just kind of just stack dialogue without really saying said this guy or said that guy.
Yeah.
Let me respond to that, and then I'll turn it right over to Elizabeth because I do want her to read. But I actually try to set up a pattern of A, B, A, B. So A says this, B says this, who identifying the speakers, and then I let it go without saying anything of that sort. But you go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to turn the page. It might be still talking about, I think it is actually still talking about him over the page, but I'm going to do like one page worth. And I'm going to start with the New York Review of Books described Peterson as remarkably in tune with contemporary prejudices. And indeed, many of his arguments do seem to present a sanitized version of distinctly recognizable manosphere refrains. The masculine spirit is under assault. Feminism, as represented by the Women's March, is, according to one tweet, a murderous equity doctrine where, where alienating young men. We're telling them that they're patriarchal oppressors and denizens of rape culture. It's awful, so destructive, it's so unnecessary, and it's so sad. All these arguments are beloved by MRA. Men are under attack. Feminism is an evil, vindictive movement literally capable of killing men. That's funny that I was talking about the Scum Manifesto earlier, wasn't it? Anyway, we are in the midst of a witch hunt against all men. Then there are the crossovers, alt-right thinking. White privilege, he says on a speech in YouTube, is a Marxist lie, and feminists support Muslim rights. One tweet reads, because they have an unconscious wish for brutal male domination. The argument is a whisker away from the deeply misogynistic white supremacist obsession with birth rates and white women defiled by invading men. But Peterson seems to know exactly how to dance just the right side of the line. Human female choosiness is also why we are very different from the common ancestry shared with our chimpanzee cousins. He writes in 12 Rules for Life, women's proclivity to say no more than any other force has shaped our evolution. In other words, like incels, Peterson places a huge amount of weight and power on the idea that the sexual marketplace is dominated by women, who have the upper hand when it comes to making romantic choices. And like them too, he describes the devastating force of rejection when women deny men rights. The links he draws between animal biology and human behavior provide a neat sense of academic gravitas to manospheric arguments about the inevitability of male dominance. We were struggling for position before we had skin or hands or lungs or bones. Writes on Facebook, dominance hierarchies are older than creed. Biology, of course, is not Peterson's academic area of expertise, but this seems of little consequence to his millions of online fans. In fact, it is usually when Peterson is furthest from his own area of academic focus that his academic credentials are most sensationally leveraged to lend weight to arguments about spheres in which he actually has little or no specialist knowledge. I love that because Laura Bates, an actress, fucking actress by degree. The risks of this are self-evident. Under one interview in which Peterson talks about female insanity and suggests that it's impossible to control crazy women because men are not allowed by societal convention to get physical with them, a male reader shuts down the objections of women with the comment, the guy has a PhD. I think he knows what he's talking about. That was beautiful. I enjoyed that. I haven't read that bit yet.
Did anyone just hear white noise?
Not me.
I thought you just meant my like Scouse accent for a second. I was quite upset.
I love your accent. You know, it's in America we associate it with evil. So Speaking of evil, I brought my flogger out.
Oh my good lord.
What, you've never seen this?
I have never seen it.
I always look for an excuse to bling my flogger out. Also,
I'm
to
a
take
bit
off my shirt,
worried because I'm sat right next to you. Like, you could easily clip me with.
You would love what I could do with my flogger. No, I'm serious. I can make this feel very light to giving you like a deep tissue massage with it. I really know what I'm doing with this. I'm not kidding about that.
Massages sound like hippie shit to me.
Sounds like what?
Hippie shit. I don't like anything that's meant to be relaxing. It winds me up.
Well, one, I'd like to see that. Two, this is deep tissue massage. This is going to hurt, but then the next day you'll feel a lot better.
All right, well, as long as it hurts.
Okay. Yeah. Wait till I get my stingy floggers. They're up in the closet somewhere.
I wish I hadn't closed the page, actually, because I kind of need to remember what she said. What did she say?
Basically, that Jordan Peterson has no clue what he's talking about, telling men that he can't handle crazy women.
How late is it? Oh my good God, it's 6:39 in the morning. Pat, what are you doing up?
He's muted.
He's muted. Maybe he's sleeping.
I just got back from fighting crime in Gotham.
Oh, well, that's reasonable. I've just been drinking all night.
But you're probably right, Liz. I probably should go.
Oh,
Sorry.
Good having you.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, Liz, let me know next time you're free, because I keep trying to phone her and just rings out. So let me know when you're free.
well, yeah, as soon as I wake up tomorrow morning, if I can sleep, no, I should go to sleep. I'll text you tomorrow.
Cool. See you later, guys. It's
Right.
lovely to see you again, Mad Cat and Vernon. Also, Mad Cat, do you have like social media?
Yes, I do have Twitter, but I barely use it. I'm mostly on Facebook these days.
All right. Because I was trying to find you again to have a look at your upcoming book, but I couldn't find anything.
You can go to boysmenissues.com. It's a new website I set up. I actually have a store that sells these, but it's not working across the seas, so I'll have to
Yeah, that's true.
fix that. But it's also going to be the place where I keep my most up-to-date information on my book. So
Cool. All right. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you later.
Night.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, okay, she was saying that Jordan talks about things. I mean, to be honest, that's a complaint that I have, because he spoke about MGTOW when he clearly had no appreciation of what MGTOW was about. But in fairness, it was explained to him, and he came back and said, I didn't know about that, and I spoke out of that. Has she ever tried to say, Jordan, between you and me, don't you think that whatever I think you've got wrong might be a bit wrong? I mean, obviously, Laura Bates is fucking dullard, so whatever she thinks he's got wrong is probably right, but you know what I mean?
well, you touch on a very good point right there. She's not going to Jordan Peterson and saying, hey, let's have a conversation about this. She's
No.
hiding behind the anonymity of writing a book and being on the internet and not ever facing him to say, oh, well, he's wrong and he doesn't know what he's talking about. He has a PhD and he has these views. She's a fucking chicken shit.
Well, she said she came to my event in 2018. She described my speech in some detail. She didn't name me, but she she didn't, I mean, I personally sent the Guardian press, an invitation to book passes, and no one took them up. No one came and spoke to any of us. She went into detail about my speech, but she didn't talk to me.
Could she have seen your speech on, I don't know, YouTube?
No, I don't think it doesn't seem to be on YouTube. There's a slight possibility it might have been somewhere else, but it's not on YouTube now. That's for sure.
Well, maybe she was there, but, just because she was there, she could have just found some random person and kept talking to people until she got the validation that she wanted. It's like those interviews they do with, like on PragerU, and they like find the people who give the dumbest possible answers, and that's the only people they show. It's a common tactic that's been used for like 40 years. Jay Leno used to do that kind of stuff. So maybe she just kept talking to people until she got the answers she wanted.
Shouldn't someone have recognized her?
She only spoke to one person who actually started talking to her, and he was very nice, is what she says in her book. But we're all very bad anyway.
I have so much esteem for you, Elizabeth. And, you're definitely someone I'm going to be mentioning in my ICMI speech, because you go out there. You stand on that, in that park that you're always telling me about. You're giving talks, and I envy you, honestly. And I feel like this opportunity to speak for ICMI might be the first step towards me doing more talks and being asked to do things. But it's just like, I wish I could trade places for you for like a day and be able to give my thoughts the way that you do. And, dare I say, you're one of my heroes.
Well, a lot of it is, a question of networking and talking to people and saying, would your students not like to hear from me, and stuff like that. That's my advice. Don't ask, don't know.
I'm just kind of basking right now. It's just, I get to be on ICMI. I've been got to still do the video test, but I have confidence in that. But this is like the best stream right now, and I thank you for both of you showing up, in all honesty, because I want to celebrate. I mean, that's why I've been drinking wine, and I smoked a cigar, sort of. It's a dream come true. Like, ever since the first ICMI, I'm like, one day I will speak at that. One day I will be important enough to be there. And
I'm a newcomer myself, but I feel the same way. So.
Well, what I've learned is, from day one, I could have done it. That I had the capability. I just didn't think that I had anything to offer. And I had so much to offer. And that's what my speech is going to be about, is all of us have something to offer. And if
we did.
I could do it, and not to degrade myself or demean myself, but I'm disabled. I can't work. There's a lot of things I can't do. I don't have a whole lot of money. And yet I've been able to accomplish so much. And I have a lot of faith in everyone else, that if we all set out there and try to use our skills to help men in some way, whether it's to open up your home to someone who needs a temporary respite, to just hearing someone talk about their problems, it all makes a difference.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts on what my talk would be as well. Because I think it would speak to.
Well, you know what? They're still looking for people right now. I'd recommend just throwing your hat
Oh,
in.
no, Vernon is already confirmed.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I can't see a thing through these. Be right back.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a part of it, and I'm just glad that more and more people are too. It's my first time, so yeah, it's.
Well, what are you discussing, if you care to share?
So my title, the title of the talk is going to be called "In Praise of the Self-Interested Competitive Male." Yeah. So it comes from a self-valuing, self-interest based approach to male issues as opposed to the disposability and the sacrifice. And I talk about about my thoughts on actual competitiveness as well, because I think it's a very confused subject among its detractors. So.
A concept that I've learned in being a writer, because technically I'm competing with every writer out there, but it doesn't mean that we have to have animosity towards each other. It's a concept called co-opetition, that we can cooperate with each other while also competing with each other at the same time.
So
yeah, but is that actually different from the actual spiritual meaning of the word competition? Because when we're within a society and we're competing against each other, aren't we competing to help everyone build the society better? I think it's quite rare that anyone competes to simply ace everyone.
So
everyone has their families and their friends that they care about.
So I'm going to give away some details of my talk, but basically I detail in a way that competition is not dog eat dog, and it's not about polarizing your opponent, right? It's more about, well, the first thing it is about competing with yourself, and that you need to be a person better than the one than you were before. But here's the thing about competition is that
that's the lesson I learned from Jordan Peterson, and it's been very.
Right, and you're allowing others to do the same thing too. Everybody's running that race, and even if you didn't make first place, you still beat your former self almost.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't. Well, I of course I talk a little bit more articulately in my talk because I'm not really good at speaking on the fly so much, but. It's
but it's when your child does the best drawing they've ever done, you don't go, it's all right, but I mean, Da Vinci did better, didn't he? You know what I mean? You do support each other from the reference point of what your loved ones have done before. It's them moving forward. It's not compared to everybody in the world.
Right.
Well, I hear a lot of what you're saying, but I think you're kind of missing something, Elizabeth. And I agree with Vernon and what he's saying is, there's this mastery of self. There's always this desire to improve, to be better than you were yesterday. But when it comes to actual competition, this is where I come in with co-opetition. I might be Vernon's wingman for a night to help him get a date. Mm-hmm. That might mean that I don't get a date for the night, but the next night he might be my wingman and help me.
But my cat, I'd tell Vernon's wife that.
Go ahead.
No, go on. I'm just being facetious.
Really? You? But, it's that while to a degree we might want the same woman, I'm willing to step back and say, you know what? You need this, man. You go for it. I will support you. I'll be like, hey,
okay. My question to you is, why do you have a problem with the word competition? Because
I don't.
It sounds well, yeah, but you're going on about co-opetition, which sounds kind of like Sesame Street word, and it's like I feel like competition is a fine word on its own, isn't it?
Well, the reason why I use co-opetition is it's cooperation with competition, or rather, competition with altruism. I don't have to be gung-ho about competition, which is what most people associate with competition, is to be cutthroat. There's nothing wrong with the word competition, but to help people understand that there can be a level of empathy, there can be a level of altruism in how we compete with one another. That, hey, I might chase after a girl, Vernon might chase after a girl, and we'll say, hey, best man wins.
Well, it's a matter of respect of others' same right to do so.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I used the analogy even in the talk about playing chess or a game of Magic the Gathering with an opponent, right? And you basically, every time your opponent makes a brilliant move, you can't hate it. You have to respect it. Basically, you have to almost love it.
Yeah.
And it's like you're not trying to double cross your opponent in any kind of meta sense. Like you don't want to like gouge his eyes out, say, or like wipe the board and say I win. and But you're abiding by the game, and it really is, that, some say cliche, but it's really true. May the best man win here. And it's every game is a race, really. Every competition is a race. And
well, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Well, this also goes into game theory as well, and probably the best example of game theory is the Nash equilibrium, in which if you work together for the best optimum strategy, you both can go away with the best rewards.
What, in chess?
We both, let me finish this analogy.
Sorry.
Both,
sorry, I'm a bit drunk.
I thought you were going to say you're a bitch, but
I should go to bed.
Okay, so if me and Vernon decide that our best option is to hunt for a bear, we both walk away with 5 pounds of meat. But Vernon may decide to betray me and go after a rabbit. I can't hunt a bear by myself, so I lose, and Vernon takes home 2 rabbits. But if he betrays me, I could say, well, I'm going to hunt the rabbit as well, and then we only get 1 piece of meat. So co-opetition or competition with altruism says, let's work together and find the best way that we both can be happy to maximize our rewards. But there's always that danger that he could stab me in the back.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you're looking at a game like chess, then, there is no, we can both win here. It is a case of someone wins, someone loses. And yet the person who loses still gains something rewarding from that experience. And that's why people still play together.
And he has to have the dignity to say, I'll get you next time.
Huh. Mm-hmm. And you learn something, you watch what your opponent has done. You go, that was a fucking good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lodge it in the brain, and, maybe next time with someone else or with them, you'll pull the same move and it'll be different. But there are so many different ways of competing, but I don't think it's all co-opetition.
No, it's not all co-opetition. And what you're talking about there is actually a very good example of just pure competition. We make ourselves better by the opportunity to lose. But as Vernon says, there has to be respect.
Right. Another thing that I mentioned in my talk that I'm going to give away a bit now. in the around 2008 to 2012ish, maybe, when I was still living in Florida back in my college days, I was involved in the Florida music scene, right? And so there's a lot of it. There's a among the bands in the local metal scene. There's this attitude firmly against competition and the fact that we have to constantly support every other band, basically, right? And
Yeah.
I didn't have the courage to say it at the time, but I thought that was bullcrap because I didn't even then I didn't think competition was this malicious dog eat dog kind of a thing. It's like, why don't we each strive to make the best music we possibly can and end up making the entire scene richer by accident?
There's a really great movie called The Gridiron Gang, and there's a scene. It's basically teaching prisoner boys how to play football and learning the purpose of what sports can bring. But they play their first game, and all of these hardened criminals, these teenage boys, are crying. And they are crying because they have never lost before. Oh. They don't know how to handle loss. And part of that in our culture today is we want children to play sports, but we don't keep score because we don't want them to feel like a loser. But and this is what I was talking about, the opportunity to lose. If I learn to lose in my lifetime as a child, I'm more prepared to handle that when I face it as an adult. This is your opportunity to speak, Elizabeth.
Well, no, I would say to that, when I was at school, there was an opportunity for everyone to kind of excel, almost. And so I wasn't a sporty kid and never won anything at sports day, but, I could write the arse off an English question. And other kids were good at maths and other kids were good at science, and most people had some area they could excel in. And I think it's more important to find kids the areas where they are naturally talented and are enjoying what they're doing than it is to protect them from the pain of not being good at some other thing. And the thing is as well, being a mother, our schools have tried to kind of hide the fact that children are at different levels in various things, but they know. Children aren't stupid. They know exactly where they are in the hierarchy for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes our society forgets that children are a lot smarter than they give them credit for. They look at them as an empty slate that they can control.
I'm not sure.
Shut up, Alexa. But they're an empty slate to be molded like clay, and it's like you're stripping them of their opportunity to develop naturally into who they're going to be.
Right. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of what we are, a lot of what I am is as a result of the adversity I've faced. To be honest, it's not all natural gifts and all like that kind of bollocks. Like, I would say most of my personality has been shaped by the knockbacks, actually.
Suddenly I'm thinking of that song, Chumbawamba.
Oh, no.
I get knocked down, get up again.
I know it. That's one of ours. I'm surprised you know it, to be honest.
Yeah, that was popular when I was in high school.
I'm not familiar with that one.
You haven't missed out. It's bloody Right. Well, it's lovely to see you, but I'm very aware it's 7:02 a.m. and I should get a little bit of sleep. The sun is already up.
Is it? Okay.
The sun will come out tomorrow. I don't know.
No,
the
it
word.
won't. It's already
Oh.
fucking tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Over
how
here,
is
it's what?
Still 11 here.
Much love to the pair of you.
Yep.
See you soon.
Have a good one.
Take care,
Bye.
hon.
Bye bye. Oh, it's you and me.
Well, actually, I was going to get going myself because
Yeah.
I got my mother will be home fairly soon, and I know she's going to want to talk. So,
Gotcha. Sure. Well, I'm glad I was able to stumble onto this going on.
yeah, and I'm glad that I got a chance to hear you out because you always have great insight. So,
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Stay in touch. You know where to find me.
yes, somewhere on Facebook.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thanks for having me on board. Have a good night. All right.
You take care, my friend.
Yep.
Bye.
You too. Bye bye.